What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Lock and Cash podcast, Thursday night football edition. We're going to be talking Los Angeles Rams versus the San Francisco 49ers over in the NFC West. Last week's video was fortunately a win with the Green Bay Packers cashing the 3.5 against the Detroit Lions. And back-to-back weeks, man, where we have had these are two great divisional games late in the season, and this one is huge this weekend. So we're going to get into it. I'll talk a little bit about the matchup, a little bit about the situational spot, which I'm very interested in, and then obviously give you guys my official pick on this game. All right, let's talk a little bit first about what happened on Sunday. The 49ers, very, very dominant win against the Bears. Chicago was never in that game, completely outmatched from the start of it. And essentially in the second half, the Niners just kind of had to coast their way to just get to the finish line because it was never a game. The Rams, on the other hand, a really fun, high-powered offensive shootout with the Buffalo Bills, back and forth, back and forth. The Rams at one point had a 2-touchdown lead. They get a special teams punt block that was returned for a touchdown. So a lot of fun stuff in that game. The Bills come storming back at the end, but end up coming up short. Rams with a 2-point win at home. The Rams have now been really impressive, in my opinion, in back-to-back weeks. They had a really solid game defensively against the Saints the week before on the road, which is, typically a tough place to play. And the Saints did have Derek Carr in that game, so it wasn't like they were injured or anything like that. But they went in there, got a big win. The offense took some time. They really came on late in the game, but got a big win to keep their season going. Then come home, that spot against the Bills. The Bills had just crushed the 49ers and in that snow game, then come on the road, obviously get caught sleepwalking a little bit, and the Rams pull off the upset and take advantage of it. So a nice little 2-week stretch here for Los Angeles to keep their season very much alive. Now they come into this game just a 2.5 point underdog. And initially this line had taken some Rams money, come down to 1. Now it looks like it's bounced back up to 49ers minus 2.5, minus 110. There's some juice out there, minus 115s, 118s. So you got to shop around to get the best number, depending on which side you like in this game. I personally think this is a great spot for San Francisco, and I'll go into that a little bit here. The Rams, with that win against the Buffalo, like if the Bills came back on Sunday and pulled off the win, the comeback win, I would be looking a little bit more favorable towards LA in this game this week. But after you get a win like that over a Super Bowl contending team that was coming in and favored, laying road chalk against you, you pull off the upset. Now you got to turn around on a short week and play a really tough divisional game. Remember, these teams played way back in week 3, so it's easy to forget it. But back in week 3, the 49ers went into LA, and they statistically dominated the Rams. And I know that Rams team is not the same team that we're looking at now here in week 15, but they went in there and got whatever they wanted offensively, were able to move the ball for 3.5 quarters, 2-touchdown lead in the first half, a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter with about 6 minutes left in the game. And of course, what happens? The Rams 13 straight unanswered points to steal the game and win it 27-24 in regulation. So very, very tough loss for the 49ers. And listen, that was at that point in the season, early on in the season, where the Niners just were not figuring it out, right? They did not have anything going right for them. And that game was pretty much indicative of what we would see from the Niners for the next several weeks. They did the same thing against Arizona, same thing in Seattle. They've blown 3 games in the division where they've had fourth quarter leads. And they are trying to avoid doing that yet again in this game if that scenario comes up. So I just think this is a great spot to fade the Rams after getting 2 straight wins, after already having beaten a team, beaten the Niners earlier this year, coming off of a huge win against one of the best teams in the NFL, turning around now on a short week against a team that didn't have to expend any extra effort at the end of that game against the Bears, right? The Niners were basically done with that game at halftime. And I'm sure now have new life. You hear the story now coming out about, I wish it would be nice to hear these things before kickoff. You would probably change your bets, but I guess the Niners had a team players only meeting or whatever the case is, led by George Kittle, apparently fired up the team, pumped up. Sometimes that's just what you need from your great leaders. And it seems like that's what they got, because they came out on Sunday and played like what we've expected to see from them for most of the season, but we just haven't seen it. And maybe it was just a wake-up call, like, hey, now our season's really on the line. And with teams like that are expected to be really good but have been struggling, I like to wait until I feel that they're truly undervalued. And I thought even laying more than, because I took the Bears +4 on Sunday, obviously was a horrible wager, but I thought laying more than a field goal, they were still not truly undervalued in the market. I think now at this point, laying below a field goal against a team in the Rams that's in the spot that they're in, Now I believe the 49ers are still truly undervalued in the market, and getting them anything below a field goal in this game, I think, is a solid bet. One of the things that impresses me too, before that win against the Bears, they were on a 3-game losing streak, right? That's some 3 pretty bad losses. A couple of them were without Brock Purdy, so understandable. But even in those games without Brock Purdy against the Packers and the Bills, where they couldn't generate any offense, right? Even accounting for those games, they are still near the top of the league in plenty of offensive metrics. Second in yards per play, fourth in yards per game. I mean, you're talking about a team that is so much better than their record suggests, and offensively has been able to move the ball so much better than you would think when you look at the types of games that they've lost. They just haven't been able to finish consistently in the red zone, which is key. Then on the other side, this Rams defense, like I said, they played well against the Saints, but man, the Bills gashed them the entire game. Buffalo has a great offense, don't get me wrong, but the Rams defense did not look good in that game. It looked really bad. And I think overall the Niners clearly have a better defense. They're top 5 across the board in most defensive metrics. But I just think, man, even with their injuries, even with obviously you're not going to have, we don't know if Trent Williams is going to play in this game. You still got some injuries on the defensive end. But I just think after that effort you saw on Sunday, dispose of the Bears very quickly, give yourself plenty of time to rest. There's no coming off of a high or anything like that, because it was never a game. The Rams, on the other hand, have to hold on play to the very, very last seconds of that game against the Bills. They've won 2 in a row. They're streaking. But to me, this is not an elite football team. I have this line, just a note of line value. I have it 3.5. So I'm not telling you that there's insane line value on this game. But there is something to be said about a line that goes through 3, right? So if there's a game that's 2.5, and by the way, this is approaching 3, and I have it 3.5, that creates a lot more value than if I had the game at 5 and it's at 4, or 5.5 and it's at 4, right? Because they're not key numbers. So I do see a bit of value on this game. It's not the most that you'll ever find, but I really like San Francisco here to get a huge win in this game. I'll also note a couple of trends that I know you guys love the trends. So, Shanahan 9-5 straight up versus teams that he lost to in the previous season. So that's obviously divisional opponents because you played them twice. So 9-5 straight up when he lost the first game to a divisional opponent. Here's one that I really like, though. Underdogs. When you're an underdog in a game, coming off of a game where you put up over 40 points, so 40 plus points in the previous game, and now you're an underdog in the current game. Last 25 times this has happened, the team that's the dog is 7-18 against the spread, 28%. So this is not this is what history is telling you. What I just described with the situational spot for the Rams, the data is kind of backing that up, saying, hey, when teams have a performance like that, and the market still thinks they're an underdog in the next game, they typically don't live back up to the hype. So I like the 49ers here to keep their momentum going in a bounce back spot. I'm taking them minus the 2.5. Let me know down in the comments if you guys agree, if you're going to tail, if you're going to play the Rams. Let me know what you guys think about the game. I will have more coming up for you this weekend. Thanks for watching, guys. Let's get it.